let's talk about immune privilege. So immune privilege is a term used to describe when certain parts of the body don't really have an immune response. So an immune response is normally triggered by the presence of a foreign body or pathogen, such as a bacteria or virus or parasite or anything of the such. When that foreign body is detected, an immune response is triggered, and I've talked a lot about that whole process before, so if you want to know more about that, it's in the microbiology and immunology playlist. So this is an antigen. Antigens are specific things that help the immune response be triggered. However, immune privilege is when there are antigens in a certain area of the body that do not trigger an immune response like they normally would in other areas. Now, this is only done in a couple very specific parts of the body for very specific reasons. Now, the eyeball is one of those such areas, and this is probably the one that people are generally the most familiar with having immune privilege. There's that kind of fact that floats around the internet saying your immune system doesn't know about your eyes, which is kind of true. A more specific statement would be that your eyes have immune privilege and they don't really have a triggerable immune response. This is because the immune response causes inflammation, which causes whatever foreign body, be that an illness or parasite or something, is harmed by the inflammation response. However, in the case of eyeballs, having a very strong inflammation response would cause a whole lot of damage to the eye structure itself, resulting in loss of vision. Instead, the eye has its own type of immune system called the ocular immune system, which functions similar to the larger full body immune system but causes a different response so as not to damage the very delicate tissues of the eye. So, in case there is a foreign body in the eyeball, it is still taken care of by an immune system to not cause disease or injury. However, it also is not harmed by inflammation like what would happen if the normal immune system took care of that pathogen instead. Now, the eyes aren't the only areas that have immune privilege. It was thought for a long time that the central nervous system, that being the brain and spinal cord, has full immune privilege. However, that is currently contested because it is shown that there is immune activity in the central nervous system, so it might have partial immune privilege, it might have its own specific immune system. That is a whole area of research that is still being quite hotly debated by immune scientists and neuroscientists. But other areas that do have immune privilege are things like a growing fetus inside somebody who is pregnant. Typically, under the regular immune system, a fetus would be seen as a foreign body that needs to be taken care of. However, during pregnancy, there's a bunch of very specific mechanisms that switch off that immune response in that specific area to allow the pregnancy to develop unbothered by the immune system and grow a nice, healthy fetus. Similarly, the placenta also does have immune privilege, as well as the testicles, and to a lesser degree, gametes, those being the egg and sperm cells. Now, the exact mechanisms of immune privilege is very, very complicated. As with many types of immune system and microbiology and molecular biology things. So this is just kind of the basic overview that there's a few specific areas in the body that either have full immune privilege and don't elicit a regular inflammation immune response, and usually have their own type of immune system to keep pathogens and other foreign bodies clear, or just have a partial immune privilege in order to keep it from being attacked by the body's immune system.